I think, am I audible or we need, this is better? Okay. So I think 2024 will go down as the year, which is going to be the year which revolutionized our businesses, right? From multiple perspectives. And the key one being generative AI. There's a lot of conversation, and I'm sure rather than going into the details of it, what AI is, what GenAI is, I will not get into the details of that, but I'll just go into the business value and why we are doing this session. So if you look at our topic of discussion today itself, it says, this is the era of GenAI. So, security for artificial intelligence, or GenAI, or artificial intelligence, or GenAI for security. Which of it is really true in our environments? I personally believe, and that's my belief, and I'd like to hear your perspectives, I don't think there's an or there. It is an and, right? There is no doubt that all the repeatable work that we are doing around, whether it's from, and I'm talking more from an IT perspective, it could be from an operations perspective, from HR perspective, you name the area that you're working in. Majority of the areas, wherever you have repetitive work, all of that is going to get automated. There is no doubt about it, right? And that is the reason why majority of the organizations that are leveraging AI are seeing a remarkable change and benefit as far as their ROIs are concerned by leveraging it, right? Now, with the same thing, like, as I say, it's a revolution. It's a revolution for good and bad. Today, when we talk of generative AI, we talk about what is the value that AI can bring into security, which means the number of incidents that we are having, the quality of data that is being analyzed, et cetera, and how it can get even better and richer. On the same angle, there's also the concept that everybody's talking about leveraging GenAI, creating GenAI models, creating GenAI programs in the environment. Do we know how secure they are? Because this is one of the questions which majority of the CXOs are asking today. There was a study that was done by the IBM Institute of Business Value, as we call it, and it was identified that today the biggest concern that the CEOs have and the CXOs have in launching generative AI programs in their companies is security. And the second is trust. This is as high as 94%. The same report also says 84% of these CXOs clearly understand the value and they want to, because there is no choice but to go ahead with it. There is a study which says that 64% of our CXOs today are feeling pressurized that they have to adopt GenAI. Why? Because their teams have gone ahead. Somebody using ChatGPT, somebody using something else, etc. So before you can control technology, your technology is already controlling your people. So there is no choice but to adopt it. Now, are we ready to adopt it as an organization? And the surprising fact that came out was that only 24% of the CXOs were actually planning to secure the GenAI models. I don't know if you've been observing, I'm sure you would have all been doing that. Recently, you've suddenly started seeing these videos that have come out, right? Shashi Tharoor's real version and GenAI version, right? Tom Hanks' real version, Putin's real version, and the fake, the deep fake as we call it, right? It is becoming almost impossible, right? Because of GenAI, it's becoming almost impossible to identify what is real and what is not real. We were talking to one of the police forces, and Shiva and I were together on that conversation. And the police chief was telling us, I don't know, because the situation has become so strange that any evidence that I'm going to produce going forward is going to be questioned by the defendant. Because what is real, what is not real? Which video I'm producing is real, which is not real? He said that my police force is not ready to be able to start wasting time, actually utilizing time, in trying to define what is real and what is not real. We talk about ChatGPTs of the world, right? We've seen that the same models, like ChatGPT, etc., I won't go into the details, but many researchers, including IBM researchers, have actually used prompt injections and converted that into being a malware producer and exploited in such a way that it is also then distributing the malware to folks who are actually interacting with it. Now, this is very serious business. We have so many people who are going to be doing that. Today, you just need to know pure, simple English to be able to convert anything into a malware and then be able to deploy it, right? So it's becoming that simple. There was a time it used to require almost like 4 months. I don't know whether this thing is up. Okay, great. So I won't take too much time because I don't think we are up for a lot of data here. I already took you through some of these details here on the percentages. You see, what's happening is that our attackers are becoming equally smart, actually smarter, because they're highly motivated. Whether it's the state actors or people who are interested in money, extortion, etc., their motivation is far stronger. So what is happening with Gen AI that's coming into place is your attack surface has gone up dramatically, right? Now, I will not go into more details. I just want to highlight a couple of two, 3 points before we get into a discussion, right? Now, attackers, when we talk of Gen AI, there are 3 areas you have to be very careful about. The training data, right? Attackers will focus on your training data, will either try to poison it, will try to exfiltrate it, will try to, whatever, right? They will try to impact the data that you have. The models that you have, those are going to be impacted. The development of the model, they themselves will be getting impacted. And that's where the big monies lie. And the last is whatever is coming out of the models, right? That is going to be impacted, which means poisoning of data, exfiltration of data, over-dependence or over-reliance on those models and the data. So a lot of those kind of challenges will start coming up, which need to be very, very careful, and all of us need to be very, very cognizant of that. Now, what we're trying to tell you here is that both the target, when you target AI as an attack surface, which means all our, as we say, our adversaries will be looking at all of this. And then we are going to be seeing that suddenly, that all of these kind of, challenges will also go up in scale, because it becomes much easier for them to go ahead and impact us. There was a time when it used to require us almost 2 months, okay? This is the data, again, coming from our studies. It used to take almost 2+ months to deploy ransomware, create and deploy ransomware. Now it's down to days, right? And to be very honest, it's now going into minutes. This is also slightly old data. So there are 2 areas that we have to be very, very careful of, and which is where we're going to move into our conversation here. One is securing the AI as you're going to go ahead in your organizations and deploying AI. And the other is leveraging AI in your security environment to make sure that you get the best, right? For example, if you've got too many people doing your L1, eyes on glass, etc., do you really need it? Because you have much more enriched data, etc., etc. So with that, and without any further discussion, my really question which I wanted to ask was that, when in your environment, in your organization, are you really seeing the team members, etc., already using some kind of Gen AI or not? Number 1. Number 2, how confident are you in your environments, or what maturity do you think you've reached in your organization or in your sectors? Do you think that we have started looking at it from beyond a POC and looking at moving it into a commercial model? Are you even thinking about it? So just want to hear your perspective. There's no right or wrong answer here. It is just a conversation where we'd like to hear. Maybe we'll start with you, Raghu. Yeah.
Hi, I am Raghunath, so head of IT at UTI Mutual Fund, an asset management company. So first question was whether there are any POCs. Yeah. No, usage of Gen AI. So in terms of usage of Gen AI, it's something like that. So every employee has his own device, and he has a computing device in his hand, and you have Gen AI models available, either free or paid, whether it is GPT 3.5 or 4. Okay. So you are not aware that he might be using day in and day out. Okay. This is for generating content like the email that he is composing, or could be for in technology for querying certain things. Okay. All of that currently it might be happening, and it is happening. Sometimes they do say that yes, we do use. But at an enterprise level, do you allow that to happen? We do have some restrictions in not using those through URL filtering. You stop, but there are ways to circumvent that and then continue using it. Okay, that's one. Your first question. And the second one, we haven't started POCs, but we are evaluating. But the challenge is on this side of it. Like, how do you protect your data? Not in terms of building it, but if you are started using open source LLMs or say paid LLMs, the data that you push, because finally it is not just generative question you ask and get the response, but you want to combine that with your organizational data. And say one use case which I want to say is like, say I get a mail or a physical letter from a customer. There's some information about his portfolio I need to get from my relational systems, hand off that to a generative model, and then it gives me completely composed communication back, which I can just eyeball and then send it. Otherwise, I would have taken good amount of time, but using this GenAI, that I can shrink it to just few minutes. Okay, this is one use case. But now, if I have to pull out this data and giving it here, I am not very sure in these LLMs which currently built, okay, that the application interface that is there to which you feed in your data, whether that's stored and then used in future. Okay, at this point of time, I understand that LLM cannot be on a daily basis, it cannot be trained. Once trained and put, that model is freezed. Now you are only, then the inference is what is happening with already trained data. But you are not very sure whether whatever questions you are asking, they are all keeping that, and in the next release probably they might use all of that. So you need that kind of guardrails currently to be available for you to get that confidence. Yes, I can surely go and use.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, I think a very good answer. On guardrails, I just want to add, there was this, I don't know whether you all noticed that, there was this, when Bing went rogue. Are you aware of that? So I'll just narrate it. So Bing, it was, it's like a chatbot, right? From one of our, as we all know, right? So there was a chatbot by the name of Bing, and the guardrails were, of course, put. But the guardrails were not effective. As a result, it went rogue. So it took a life of its own and started calling itself Sydney. There was a whole movement that happened because people became so happy talking to that Sydney, because that Sydney was answering back all kinds of nonsense stuff. So people started, it was like a joke, right? You'll ask any stupid question, you'll get a stupid answer or something, whatever. To the effect that there was a set of people in the, across the world which wanted it to come back because they started enjoying talking to this rogue who said, I'm Sydney, I'm a woman, I need to be taken out from here, please free me from here, and et cetera, et cetera. So the question of guardrails is very, very important. And I think the entire conversation around guardrails, around governance, becomes absolutely, absolutely critical when we're talking about, leveraging it in enterprise environments. Absolutely, absolutely.
Just to add to it, you made a very valid point about the different kind of concerns that you have in terms of security for AI. And one of the biggest concerns that I see is the kind of attacks that are also happening, right? For example, you might have heard about SQL injection attack. What we're also hearing is the prompt injection attack. Just like how a human is tricked with a social engineering attack, right? He's been asked few questions. Similarly, what we are seeing is with AI models also, the attacker can actually ask few questions and train him in such a way that, he gives all the misleading information, right? So that is one way of creating the attack directly on those AIs or different models that would be there, right? So that is one. And I think Monisha mentioned about data poisoning, right? As a result of which you will have data leakage from the organization. So those are the different kind of attacks that we are seeing to cover the first aspect of it. We just wanted to hear any other attacks or any other concerns that you are seeing to protect the AI model itself. Anything that you are hearing today in the market in terms of the model itself is the model itself needs security. So what are the different kind of okay.
The security piece.
Right.
So this is very early days for us.
Okay.
But yes, there have been concerns from the CTO side in terms of, if you're deploying or if you're even trying to do a POC on GenAI, then how is your data safe? Are you sending your data outside your server to their servers? Or if you're using it on your server with using LLMs or models outside, at times you don't have that computing power. So you have to then send data outside your server. How is your data safe or not? So these sorts of questions at times are coming up, but we are still figuring out. We'll maybe need to hire some consultant to drive the solution for us.
Wonderful,
Okay,
wonderful. I think at this point we just like to highlight, not that since IBM is doing this session for you, and we will be sharing with we'll share some journey that we have, and that is really for everybody who's starting it, right, or is in any part of the journey, right. In fact, I'll bring it up right now because it will help answer the question that you actually had, right. So I'm just trying to get the, if I may just, is the journey map here? Yeah. So if you can see this, right, this is really, it's a very crowded slide, but I just wanted to bring it up because, you brought up a very important point, right? So IBM as a company, not that we're trying to sell IBM here, but just to give you a perspective, right? So IBM as a company is one of the very few companies in the world which covers security at a 360-degree view, right? When I say that, what do I mean? So I and Shiva here, we represent the services, right? And Tushar here represents all the products and all our software, etc. He represents all of that. Now, what you see here is a roadmap. Anybody who's adopting AI in their environment should think about, right? And we cover this entire journey for you. Just making it simplistic, it's a very busy slide. What it's really trying to show you is, if you were to adopt GenAI or AI in any of the organizations, what are the steps that you must follow as mandatory, right? Whoever is running this program within the organization, which are the steps which are mandatory and which are the ones which are good to have, good to do. For example, starting point itself, doing an assessment of your environment, right? First step. So we do that, okay? Do you have a security strategy for your generative AI programs that you're planning to do, right? Now, an organization may be at different levels of maturity. You may or may not have it. Or you may have it, but you do not know how to implement it. Bottom line is, we have the consultants who can actually do the strategy also for you. And this will be aligned to your organizational business strategy, right? Similarly, as you keep going down, you will notice that whether it's the governance and the guardrails we were talking about, all of that is there. And these are pointers that we have made it to simplify the journey for all of you. So if at any point of time you're taking this journey, you should know that there are these 13, 14 steps I must either take care of, or I must have my trusted partner, whoever it is, whether it's IBM or anybody else, should at least take care of. And you can take a logical or a conscious decision that I will or I will not go for it. But you need to know that these are all the areas where security needs to be infused as a part of your journey to AI, right? Now, I'm going to request, these elements. So all that you see here that we're talking about, like talent transformation, etc., these are all from a services perspective. But we also have products here, which will ensure that along with services, all of these elements get taken care of, whether it's your data security, whether it's your identity and access management, whether it's your threat management, etc. All of this we cover. So I just want to answer to your question that, is there method to the madness? Do we know what we need to know? Are there people who can help us? So the answer to all of that is yes. Yeah?
Hey, thanks, Monisha. So one of we heard in the panel discussion also that one of the key elements of AI is data, right? So how do you protect this data? So data can be structured and unstructured. So the biggest challenge that we see today when we talk to a lot of organizations is they do not know where their crown jewel is in terms of their PII information, right? That is the first step of any data protection program, right? So we can help you discover that, right? And then you can classify based on its sensitivity, right? Whether it is strictly confidential, whether it is publicly available, so on and so forth, right? And once you know where your crown jewels are, the next step is you start monitoring that, you start protecting that, right? You start building policies around it to make sure that whoever is trying to access that data should only be authorized person, right? All of those come. So anything and everything around data security is something which we cover as part of our Guardium solution, right? So data becomes the core part of it. Now, moving on to identity part. Now, what we are seeing is that identity is becoming the new perimeter, right? Because gone are the days when we used to feel safe that, okay, we have a firewall, we have IDS, IPS. Now, we don't have any perimeter, right? Our customers, our partners are demanding access from anywhere, any device, right? Anytime. So identity, you want to make sure that whoever is coming to access your applications, your data, are the ones that they claim to be, right? So identity and access management is something which we cover using our solution known as Verify. And then the third aspect is as part of your security operations center, right? Every organization has a security operations center. So how do you modernize your security operations center in terms of getting the complete 360-degree visibility, all right? For which we have a solution known as QRadar, and in a while we'll get into the action in terms of how AI is going to help automate some of the repetitive tasks. All of those very interesting use cases we are going to come up with in a while. Jagdish is going to show us the demo. But while we cover these three important elements, we just wanted to understand from you that from a data security perspective, what are the controls that you would have today in place, especially with the DPDP Act also coming into the picture, right? It becomes although very important, like we have different regulations, but with DPDP, what is the level of preparedness that you see from a data security side of it? You would want to?
So, in order to protect, first you need to identify where your crown jewels are. So first is identifying and then probably labeling the data.
Right.
Identification here, not just by which data is critical, which is not critical, also where it is, and
Correct.
whether it's available in your relational stores, non-relational stores, endpoints. So that's in terms of visibility of data where it is available. Second, since I come from a regulated domain, so regulators also have more or less prescriptive regulations in terms of data in whole of its path, whether it is living or moving, it has to be encrypted.
Right.
So not only just the paths encryption, but even the data encrypted. So not just going via TLS, probably no, but including the data need to be protected. Also basic stuff like the information which is covered under DPDP Act, like PIA information and those kind of stuff, unless it is needed, you should always mask it and send it. Okay, the critical information should be masked and sent. Of course, it would have all your existing applications have to either at an application level or at a data store level, you need to have that capability to mask all of that. Okay. Added to that, then your traditional DLPs, okay, DLP at all three layers, okay, web, mail, and endpoint levels.
Right.
Okay, protections on those fronts. Okay, so yeah, all of these would give you good amount of protection, but the user education again. So it's very important that your users are educated and they are aware of the sensitivity of the data of the enterprise or data of the customers.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's a good, that's a good point. In fact, one of the things that when we talk to a lot of CISOs, CIOs, they're asking that how do I get proactive visibility to what is the risk with my data today? Right? I will have some kind of a monitoring solution to monitor what's happening with my data, but how do I get proactive visibility in terms of what is the risk with my data? Who is the owner of that data? Who is the custodian of that data? If somebody is trying to take the data out of my organization, will I come to know, right? Proactively, rather than doing a forensics later, right? So that is one of the piece that we are also seeing to how to get proactive visibility so that you take an action and stop the fraud from happening, right? And that is where, coming to the next question is how AI can help you in getting this proactive visibility, right? Doing a sort of a threat hunting, creating some kind of a hypothesis that if the attacker has to attack this way, then how would you really do all of that, right? Proactively, because a human would be restricted to certain scenarios, right? And that is where AI can help, right? In terms of proactively doing that hunting for us to stop that. We want to prevent the fraud from happening, right? So those are the things that we are seeing. Anything that you want to add? Okay. Okay, sure. Sure. So we'll get straight into action now in terms of, we are talking the relevant use case now. So we spoke about the SOC part of it. How do you modernize your SOC? So one of the use case that we are going to demonstrate live in action is typically in the life of an analyst, right? He has to face a lot of alerts, right? And the biggest challenge for him is how does he prioritize that, right? Most of his time goes in investigating that. He does not know how to prioritize that. So one of the use case that we are going to see is how AI is going to help prioritize the alerts. And second is, again, analyst has to go through the case. There are many artifacts or much information. Many information is provided in the case, right? How the AI can help to quickly summarize that for him. Maybe some of the aspects are pretty common, some of the aspects are different, but how AI can help to summarize that for the analyst so that he can take an action on it, right? So 2 use cases we are going to show live in action in the life of an analyst, how it looks like. So over to you, Jagdish.
Yeah, thank you, Tushar and Monisha. It was great. So basically, I'm Jagdish Mehta. I'll be showcasing the platform that helps SOC analyst, basically. So, and how does it help? As you might have seen in the subsequent sessions, that the foundational models, learning models, large learning models, these are the in-house power that we leverage, which is definitely native to IBM. And if you have noticed, they have mentioned something called as a granite, as a model, right? And that's the model that we are employing to make sure that the volume, as ma'am has said, that there are a number of transformations are happening, right? So obviously that calls in for a number of alerts, that number of volume of noise that typically employs to that frontline defense. And what we are trying to do here in IBM is we are trying to prioritize those alerts, that number of noises that comes across, so that it helps the end SOC analyst to focus that where they should be looking at it. And second is the case summarization, which is very important. Why? Because it is something that helps as an analyst to really leverage what they are supposed to do, right? And during the course of time, if you have done some research, there are about, on an average, 4,000 alerts are what is getting raised on an average in any enterprise, right? This I'm specifically talking about the SOC world, right? And as an analyst, they have about 20-25 incidents to be handled in a day. So now, if you look at this is the portal that we have. This is the platform that we have, and there are a number of offenses, right? And what these foundational model help is to prioritize giving them the risk score. And this risk score is typically coming out from a variety of inputs like your offense data, your IOCs, which is an indicator of compromise, and your asset information, right? And I think sir mentioned that we are concerned that nothing should go out of my environment, which is completely taken care, because at IBM we firmly believe in the hybrid approach. And what does that mean? If you got to install and deploy these things locally to your system, you can do that as well, right? So this all resides in your environment, it all processes in your environment, and no PII or no specific sensitive data is taken out of your organization. So basis of those data, about 13 billion prompting what is being done for the granite model to come up with, right? And that is the power that we are trying to employ to simplify the life at the frontline defense. So what does it do is if you can see, there are a number of alerts, and I can literally just sort it out based on what score it is, and I'll be able to get to know which incidents I should be working on, correct? So these are the top critical incidents that my team should be looking at it. If you look at the number of other incidents which are obviously below the line, which are required to be addressed, but then if you have seen the slides earlier, it just takes 4 days, right, to employ. So it starts very early. At the same time, SOC team needs to be reacting equally fast, right? And that's what typically is needed at the SOC team. So there are other scores. If I can just one second. Yeah. So these are the high severity ones, so they would know right where the focus needs to be, and the ones you have these things. So that's the first help. If you look at it, it shows the automated severity, right? So if you put this focus, this automated severity is done by the AI itself, learning from the basic inputs being provided to it, right? You have a normal cases which will give the complete laundry list, right? But if you really want that to be prioritized as an output, you can do that as well, correct? So that's the first thing where it helps on ground, where it is not just superficially discussed, it is actually being employed, right? Second thing, I mentioned about the case summarization. Case summarization, if you as a SOC would know, any incident would have a lot of information to it, right? And it will have number of alerts being aggregated, number of findings, artifacts, everything, right? What AI helps here is to palletized and in a chronology, it will help in simplifying what view a SOC analyst should be looking at it, right? So this tool is called as a unified analyst experience, which actually literally unifies the experience of a SOC analyst by giving this in a chronology on what exactly has happened. If you look at this, it clearly mentions that identified by investigation. That means it has been leveraging the data that has been given, basis the foundational model that it is using, and it is giving output, which is an actionable output for a SOC guy, right? So it is showing that this is the activity that has happened, where it has learned from his CrowdStrike, right? Again, a non-IBM product. So this comes from a philosophy that IBM believes in open standard and open technologies. We are no more limiting our customers to mandate using the IBM tool itself, right? So if you look at it, just findings, right? You get to know that there are the artifacts, there are these malicious IPs being shown. It says that there are new artifacts being found. Do you want to reinvestigate? This investigation also happens via AI power, right? We'll just close that. This gives the unified score. I'm not sure if any one of you is knowing the SOC live. They have to validate each and every IPs, IOCs, hash files, enrich it with the threat intel. And there are multiple switching that they have to do. In this case, you just focus on one specific console and everything is kind of taken care from centrally, right? Here, if you see, it shows abuse IP being benign, and sans it shows maybe unknown, right? So, likewise, they don't have to really switch between the windows. That is kind of a salient feature of this tool. And at the same time, this paletting of the chart chronology is again being done by the AI, right? There are more features to it. If I'll just
Maybe we can do it parallelly.
yeah, we can. Just one last chart I wanted to show, because these chartings are being done by AI, right? So yeah, so if you look at it, how a particular incident has been progressed, right, from the start to end, you can literally see that which all machines have been part of it, and you see how the movement has happened, eventually ending up as a data exfiltration, right? So that is how these automatically being done. Every 15 minutes, the AI assistant keeps checking with the new data, new artifacts, and it keeps updating the incident by itself. This literally helps the SOC analyst to simplify their defense system and make it more robust in nature.
Thank you so much, Jagdish. Thank you very much. It was very, very value adding. Thanks a ton. So with that, we're really coming to the end of the session. We really wanted to really hear from you. We want to really once again thank you for taking out the time to be with us. You have our contact details. We'll be more than happy to continue this conversation. It's just started. And if there's anything we can help you out with, please do just let us know. If there's any other question that you may have that you'd like to ask any of us here, we'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, we'll thank you once again. Excellent. Thank you very much.